But Rob, Kyrie Irving signs a 3-year, $126 million deal with a player option for the 3rd year. And my thoughts are this. I've said, and I said it on this show and others, I would, if I were running this for the Mavericks, I would have wanted to give him 1 year. Guaranteed, fully guaranteed. Max. I would have maxed him, though. He didn't get maxed. But as a compromise, because you want him to be happy, I would have gone 2 years. 2 years, full max. And Rob, he could have got over $50 million a year. It looks like to me what the Mavericks did was they felt like, okay, Kyrie's coming to us, giving us a compromise by only taking basically $42 million a year, which is well below the max. And so we're going to compromise with him and give him 3 years guaranteed. I mean, it's 3 years. The 3rd year is a player option, but that is essentially 3 years guaranteed, fully guaranteed for him. So look, it's fine, whatever. They didn't max him, but I think they should have done 2 years max money. And then the 3rd year, if you had one, should have been a team option instead of a player option.
I'm not surprised at all. I know we talked about it.
Yeah.
What did we say?
And I said you probably were right. I was saying that.
Yeah, you know.
But you said 3, yep.
That there was going to be 3 years. There's just no way around it, Chris. What you were saying was logical, but that's not how it works. Ain't no way he was going to sign for less than a 3-year contract. And Dallas gave up players in the situation. They had no choice, so they had to make it work. I hear you. And he did get it. You know, a player option is in his favor. It could have been a club option, but, you know, like, it's a tough, it's a double-edged sword. It's very, very difficult with players, and you want to make the guy somewhat happy, Chris. We talked about that.
Right.
And you just don't want to get into a long-term relationship where a guy feels like they screwed me over, they didn't give me what I want. You know what I mean? Because he didn't get the money. I mean, 3 years, 126 is just, that's okay. It's
Fred VanVleet got more money than that. Now, his 3rd year is a team option, but still.
But am I right? Yeah. I mean, he didn't get cashed out like, he got rewarded. No, he didn't. He got a deal, which I'm sure he's happy about.
I think the years, I mean, obviously he wanted good money. And look, he's making over $40 million. But I think, Rob, the guaranteed years was probably the most important thing to him. You know, more so than obviously max money. Because he didn't get max money.
Right. No, I agree with that. And it just was, I don't know what people told him or his agents or people, Chris, like the idea that he was going to get maxed out. He probably had to come to terms with that, right? Like that wasn't happening. Nobody was going to give him that kind of deal. But
I wonder if they offered him, Rob, because first of all, the Mavericks were negotiating against themselves. Because the teams with money just aren't good teams and, you know, really had no interest because of just where they're at as a franchise. And all these teams he was going to meet with, you know, they were, you know, they don't have any money. So I wouldn't be surprised, Rob, if they offered him, like what I said, 2 years, full max. So that would have been like $100 million or so, a little more. Or the 3 years, 126, which would you prefer? You know, maybe 2 years with a team option. And maybe pick this one, Rob, for the fully guaranteed money.
Fully guaranteed for 3 years, too. I mean, I don't know if you could, like, the 2 would have been nice, but a team option, they could dump me after that. Like, this is 3 years no matter what. He's guaranteed that money if everything goes right. So I think Kyrie made out the best that he could. Denver didn't roll over, Chris. But
Dallas,
they were, right? Dallas, I mean. But they were in a pickle, right? They had to do something. They couldn't be like, we didn't make the playoffs, we're blaming you, and we're not going to sign you. Like that no, just
they had to sign him.
They had to sign him.
Yeah, it's interesting. And look, for Kyrie, if he balls out, Rob, say they're a deep playoff team, he plays great, he has no issues, he's healthy, And that's a lot because Kyrie hasn't. If it wasn't issues, it was health. And so, but let's say all that comes together, he'll opt out of that second year, right after that second year, and get a better contract. So it's a good deal for him considering all the issues he's had. What's your gut? How do you think this works out? Do you think Kyrie's a good soldier? There's really no issues. Health we can't predict, but you think it works out in that regard, and he plays well. You think all that?
Plays well is about the only thing I
shouldn't say
can say.
plays well.
Yeah,
we know
he can play well,
but that they win. That's
yeah.
And I'm not talking about championship.
I think it's all wild cards. I just you can't count on him for me. I don't know, Chris, because something could come up, something could upset him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
That's been the case.
Yeah, it just seemed like it's a wild card, and you can't for sure be like, oh yeah, this is going to work out. They're going to go to the Western Conference Finals. This is the perfect match. Nah, I don't feel that way. Kyrie, he's learned his lesson. He's had his bumps. He's ready to straighten out, and everything's going to be good. And he's going to be a team player and no issues. Can I say that? I can't say that. I just can't.
Yeah, I want to believe the best. I think we both understand, like Kyrie to some degree.
We both do.
He's got a good heart, but to take off a week, Rob, for January 6th, and we get it, that was a terrible situation, but still, we came to work. You got to go to work. Affirmative action was just ended. Is that something that would make right?
Right.
If that happens during the season, is Kyrie got to take a week off to lament? You're right in that. I want to believe the best. I said on TV today, first things first, that, hey, what else could he do? What else could he do? But you're right. Our country, and he's a guy that pays attention to everything going on and apparently reacts to it emotionally. We are a very polarized country. It's a crazy election going to be coming up, right? No matter who wins, it's going to be hectic, right? Because the other side's going to be tripping.
Right.
And is that, these are things just because of Kyrie's track record that you do have to worry about.
I think it's real. And I think that if you're Dallas, you're hopeful, Chris. Those two guys are those two guys are dynamic players. They should be able to get a team somewhere moving forward and making the playoffs and making a run with those two guys.
No doubt.
Anything Rob, less than that, there's really something rotten in Denmark.
If they don't, and I get it, they didn't make the playoffs this year. If they don't make the playoffs,
no, they're making the playoffs.
Right. Unless Luka gets hurt or Kyrie, Kyrie, to me, Kyrie could actually get hurt. Now that would be bad for your contract situation as far as the Mavericks, but I think still they'd make the playoffs just with Luka. But unless Luka gets hurt, right? If they don't make the playoffs, it is going to be I can't even fathom that. And I get it. They went 5-11 a year ago, but Rob, they got to make the playoffs. And I think that coaching staff, Jason Kidd and company, have to I just think they got to find a better offense. I think you have to find a way, like, when they are right now, Luka, it's your world, do your thing. Everybody else space out around him, or, you get a pick and roll. Or if Luka doesn't do it, it's Kyrie. Kyrie is your world, do your thing. Everybody else space out. And now Kyrie will move some without the ball. He's better at it than Luka. Luka doesn't really do anything off the ball. And so I just think, not just to maximize these two together, but to be a more dangerous team.
Can they mix in some defense? Chris? I'm just
Well,
asking.
yeah,
Can they mix
that's
it?
the other thing.
Can they mix in some defense? I mean, my God, they couldn't stop anybody at the end of the year.
No, they couldn't stop a runny nose.
No, it was.
I like Derek Lively. Now he's a rookie, Rob, he's played 1 year at Duke, so I'm not expecting him to light it up next year. But I think potentially he could be a good player in the future. But yeah, they got work to do. They added Seth Curry. That ain't gonna help your defense,
Right.
but he can score.
knock
He
down
can
some
shoot.
threes.
Right. So, but like, the bottom line, Rob, is if they don't make the playoffs, I'm sorry. It is just I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, if they don't make the playoffs, then probably Luka won't want to stick around, right?
Right. See, that's the real danger in this, Rob.
Right.
Is if they apparently, I'm sure they must get along, and they talked about getting along when they were there last season, and they seem like they're cool. They must be if Luka.
I never see issues with the other players because I think they.
Now players like Kyrie,
Right.
they respect
him,
obviously
right.
his skill set and
No
all
doubt.
that. I don't know if he still is. He's been moody in the past. I mean, with Cleveland, just go a week without talking to guys. Just kind of moody. I don't know if he's still like that or not. But yeah, they got to worry about if Luka, isn't happy, Rob, or they just losing, then they do have to be careful because you cannot lose that guy.